Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a e-verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to cloud test lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
Open hbm.xml file. Go to source. hbm.xml file, it consists of mapping for your Java object to your database table. The root element is Hibernate Mapping, and inside that it consists of a class tag. The class tag will consist of information. It consists of two attributes. The first one is name attribute, which is nothing but your Java entity bean, and the table, to which table it will map. Currently you can see that it has created a table. It has placed a table name called employee automatically. How it has selected? It will take a look at the class name. Currently the class name was employee, and your plugin has assumed that you are going to use the same name as your table also. And once you have mapped these two within your class tag, you are going to map all your properties to your database columns. See, once you have mapped the information, let us say you have mapped table to Java entity, then you are supposed to map your primary key to your Java property. But in Java we don't have any separate maintenance for primary key or remaining properties, but in database we have that, and all the remaining columns to Java properties. So you are going to specify all this information within your class tag. So class tag consists of nested elements. The first one is ID element. Again, each and every element consists of a column as nested element, which specifies what column maps to what property within your Java file or within your entity. So currently my employee ID property, which holds an integer, maps to the column emp ID, but currently ours is emp_id. Forget about this one. We'll discuss about this generator later. And the next one is, for all the rest of the columns, we are supposed to use the tag called property. Only for primary key, you are going to use ID, but all the rest of them, you are going to use property. But it consists of same attributes. ID itself understands that this is a primary key. ID signifies a primary key. Whenever you are writing the remaining columns, you are supposed to specify that as primary. That we'll discuss about that later, Vijay. Just think about the basic one first. The next one is property, consists of again same attributes, name and data type, employee first name and employee last name, which maps to the column emp underscore first name, and also last name. Designation is fine, salary is fine, username was also supposed to change. So I have mapped the employee Java object to the database table employee. So that means whenever I have asked the Hibernate to go and fetch the data from the employee table based on this primary key, it will fetch all the information based on these columns, and it will store the data in terms of a Java object based on this property mapping. That's the reason we are placing the property to column mapping. We have done with how the data types will be converted from Java to DB, say from integer to number. That will be taken care by the Hibernate. See, even with JDBC also, you are sending the data in terms of a normal string. It will be converted as a varchar by your JDBC driver manager itself. In the same way, int will be mapped to number by your Hibernate. It will take care about the data conversion, and if it was not able to convert, it will be going to throw an exception specifying that cannot convert from this data type to that particular data type. Once you have written these two resources and you are going to submit the request from login page, and it will reach your login servlet. From your login servlet, it will contact the processor. From processor, it will contact the employee details. So previously we are using get employee details with all the Java code here, with all the JDBC code. Now we are not going to use the JDBC code, and we are going to write the Hibernate code. Public employee get employee Hibernate details string username. But I have mentioned that we are supposed to retrieve the data for a basic one. We are supposed to retrieve the data only based on primary key. Let us take a look at that why we are supposed to go only for primary key. The first step is we need to ask the session factory to provide a session object. So that will be provided by calling a method open session. But before that, you need to retrieve the Hibernate util dot get session factory will provide you a session factory object, and on that you can directly call the open session method. The open session method will create a session for you. Import org.hibernate.session. Once you got the session, your session has several methods which will perform all the CRUD operations. That's what we have mentioned. So here delete is used for performing the delete operation. Get is used to retrieve the information from the database. Load also used to load the data from the database. Here you can see that save method, which is used for insert operation. So currently our intention is to retrieve the data data based on primary key. So that means I want to perform select star from employee where employee ID equal to 2. This is what I want to execute. For this one, from session, I have a method called get method which accepts 2 parameters. The first parameter is what is the class object, on what class object you want to perform the operation, and the next one is what is the primary key that you want to, what is the primary key value that you want to send to perform this operation. So when you use get method, currently what is the class that we want to associate? Ours is employee.class. And also let us assume that this one I am passing it as an integer only. Let us convert this to integer value. Integer dot parse int of username. From front end, I will only pass numbers. You can see that the get method returns an object. You can directly convert this to employee object, and you can store the data in terms of employee, and finally you can return the employee back to the user. You can see that how much code you have reduced by using your Hibernate file. You don't need to write all this one, don't need to create any kind of objects, and you don't need to write any kind of SQL statement. See here also what are we doing? We are just writing this query and we are passing some information. But at this level also you are specifying the same, but you are not writing the actual query. You are specifying that I want to get the information from this table or from this class based on this particular primary key. So your Hibernate will understand that whenever you have called the get method by passing the class name and integer value, Hibernate will take a look at your hbm.xml file, and corresponding to your employee object, you have mentioned that employee table was available, and Hibernate knows that get method accepts only the primary key. So that means it will take a look at your primary key ID, which is employee ID, and it will prepare a query based on these 2 properties, select star from employee, where employee ID equal to whatever the value that you have passed. So the return value, it will be definitely an employee only, employee object. Your Hibernate will read the column information and prepares the employee object based on this mapping file, and it will directly provide you the employee object. Employee object retrieved. Currently our front end might fail because our front end expects address object as well. So that's why I'm just printing some information here itself. So from my processor, I'm just changing only the method name. It's not required for me to change at my servlet level. That is the whole reason we are supposed to divide the code in terms of components. If you take a look at our code now, I'm not at all touching my login servlet itself. Whatever the code that was there at the servlet level, I'm going to use as it is, and I'm only changing at the DAO layer. And even it's not required for me to change at the login processor level as long as I'm using same method name. But currently we are not using same method name. That's why I have changed the method name at login processor level. That is the whole purpose of dividing the code in terms of components. Let us go and execute this one. Let us see if there are any issues. We forgot about one more thing. See, our configuration file will be read by our listener class. Our listener class, and your listener class will be going to read, your configuration will be going to read the hibernate.cfg.xml file. But how it will read employee.hbm.xml file? To specify that, there is one other tag which is mapping tag. Here you need to specify your mapping resource, which is nothing but your employee.hbm.xml file. If at all, if you have many number of resources like address.hbm.xml file, just go and add one more mapping resource, and that will be read by your Hibernate, and it will create the object. Restart the server. Context listener, session factory created properly. So now let us go and execute our login page. Employee, enter username. I need to use primary keys 100 and Steve. Forget about this exception. This was because of address details. You can see that we are able to send the request to our Hibernate method, and it was able to retrieve the details. An employee object retrieved manager, an employee object retrieved 7,000. So that means our Hibernate was able to fetch the details properly from the database, and it was able to, the first one is, it was able to issue the query properly to the database and was able to fetch the details and store it in our employee object. Or else come back to our details display page. We'll comment this one. Currently, we have mentioned that our Hibernate will be going to generate the query for us. If you want to see the query, whatever that Hibernate has generated, you can just configure one more property, which is show_SQL property, and you need to specify whether true or false. If you have specified this property, your Hibernate will be going to write whatever the query that it has generated onto the console. Let us execute it one more time. 100 Steve. What is the issue? Employee object dot address dot city. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, that is data issue, JSP issue. So here you can see that your Hibernate has specified the query, whatever that it has created. So this query was written by your Hibernate. Select employee.employee ID, reference name, and all the properties. Finally, where employee.employee ID equal to question mark. So that means it has used prepared statement internally, and it has sent a query to the database by using prepared statement. So this is how normally you will be going to debug if the query was not proper, or if the data was not retrieved properly. Then you will make use of this particular query retrieval, and you will verify whether the query has properly generated or not. This particular show SQL can be useful for that purpose. I'm sorry it took a while, but I don't want to stop in the middle.
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website H2Kinfosys.com. On our website H2Kinfosys.com, you will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@h2kinfosys.com or h2kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.